Bulavinaka, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Elisha Foon. Coming up.
We've got to, first of all, contain the situation, see what is the process. All those questions are still up in the air.
Samoa's Prime Minister says it's too soon to talk compensation without clear evidence of environmental impacts following the Manawanui disaster. Also, Papua New Guinea defends injecting over $1 million to Niue, despite its people calling for more support by its own government. And later,
how can women save? How can women find money while they're breastfeeding their kids, while they're sitting on the roadside doing just about everything they do?
A new bank helping women and mothers be financially independent from their partners and husbands. Samoa's Prime Minister says clear evidence of environmental impacts are needed before the compensation conversation can be had around the Manawanui disaster. 200,000 litres of diesel was earlier estimated to have come from the New Zealand Navy vessel that sank off the south coast of Upolu in Samoa just over a week ago. 3 villages on Upolu's southwest coast have been advised not to fish in the ocean in front of their homes while authorities await the result of water testing. Grace Fiava'ai spoke with Samoa's leader, Fiame Naomi Mataafa, about the situation.
The Samoan government is here. We've been here since the beginning of the incident. Our people were the ones that went out and did the rescue. The New Zealand government, we've been in discussions with the New Zealand government. They have about 60 personnel here already undertaking different works. It's going to take a little while before they can determine exactly what happens to the ship itself. The priorities are on looking at the leakage and the containment of that and the monitoring of where it's got to. So far, the reports that we're getting, we're checking the coastal side, and there's no been evidence of oil coming up on the coast. So what that says is that most of it is going off shore. It's not coming in, it's going off. But nevertheless, the latest information we have is that there was one tank where there was the leakage, and they've been able to, block that. The tanks that are intact, the work that's been undertaken now is how do they actually take those up from the ship. So those are the priorities, activities that are happening.
And so what are your concerns for the villages affected? I think there was a comment from Tawhitowala about wanting compensation from the New Zealand government. What are the next steps for Samoa and the government, in terms of looking after the people affected in these areas?
Well, first of all, we do have to have clear evidence of any damage or impact, on the environment and on the sea life. So, any question about compensation is something, a long way down the line, if at all. We have to prioritize first and foremost the containment of the situation and just to ensure that there is no further leakage, and that's, the priority between the two governments and the work that's been undertaken by the specialists that are here. I mean, people will report whatever they are reporting. We are getting regular reviews along the coastline, Safata, going towards Siumu. And, there's no oil residue on the beaches, per se. So that's the reporting that's coming through. I think the initial leakage was mostly on the reef, but most of it has dissipated now and gone out into the open ocean. So our attitude is we've got to, first of all, contain the situation, see what is the process of, whether the ship is salvaged at all, if at all. So all those questions are still up in the air.
And so there are no talks of it. There are no talks of it being salvaged this week or anything? And if so, what's your stance?
No. And then there is a question, that is being posed because, we're hosting King Charles next week. Whether the work continues. So I think those are the issues that we then need to expand the discussion because it's a security issue.
Yeah.
So that's ongoing at the moment, whether the work can continue or whether it needs to be on hold, once the king arrives, because he's going to be there in Siumu.
Meanwhile, Fiame Naomi Mataafa says Samoa is still preparing to host King Charles for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting next week. Papua New Guinea's High Commissioner to New Zealand has justified James Marape injecting over $1 million into Niue, all while survivors of tribal fights, climate events and land issues say they are waiting for government support. Sakias Tamio, who is also the non-resident High Commissioner to Tonga, Samoa, Cook Islands and Niue, told Lydia Lewis this was a commitment made by a former Prime Minister. One Prime Minister Marape wants to ensure is delivered.
Prime Minister Marape and Premier of Niue, Honourable Dalton Emani Makamau Lagi, they had a very fruitful discussions. It is important for Papua New Guinea to know that we have about 10% of the population of Niue has Papua New Guinea bloods. And that is a result of a lady named Gewa from Hanumbada village in Port Moresby, married to a Niuean missionary. And they went to Niue, and they have a huge population that came out of that lady going to Niue. And the population is so huge, and through that, her family contributed to Niue. I think from what I was told, they have produced 2 premiers already from that. And we currently have the Minister for Natural Resources as well, from the Gewa family. And so that is a very huge, it's important for Papua New Guinea. During the tough times, Niueans have sacrificed their lives, brought the gospel, Bible to Papua New Guinea and served in the coastal areas of Papua New Guinea, Hanumbada and all those Papuan villages. They've sacrificed a lot have died, and they've laid the foundation for Papua New Guinea and Niue relationship. And so I think it is important for Papua New Guinea to honor the sacrifice and commitments made by the Niueans. And this generation must not forget Gewa and what past generations did for the relationship between the 2 countries. So the relationship between Niue and Papua New Guinea is sentimental. It's very important for us that we cannot forget, and so we need to have the connections going. We need to have trade connections. We need to have people-to-people connections. We need to have cultural connections. Those relationships are very important, and that is why Prime Minister Marape's going reflects a huge commitment at the highest level to strengthen our relationship with Niue. And so Prime Minister Marape made some commitments to help the Niueans.
What was the commitment? How much money was committed?
First was a 5 million kina. That was a commitment made by a former Prime Minister. So that is something that Prime Minister Marape would like to make sure that it is delivered. And then some other projects that needs to be done.
Which project?
Maybe to do with some renovating the Fale Fono house. So these are some things that we want to see happen. We don't want a one-off relationship. Prime Minister visits once in a while, and that is it. We want to have regular connections and connections between Niue and Papua New Guinea.
Given that the need in Papua New Guinea for support is so great, how can the government justify giving that much money to another country when there are, 3,000 people, for example, still displaced because their squatter settlements have been taken down, for example? What would you say to people who say, well, why don't you invest that in Papua New Guinea?
Well, Papua New Guinea is part of the international community, and we are a member of the international community, member of the Pacific Islands Forum, and member of the United Nations, and we are a member of the Family of Nations. And so these are some important commitments and obligations that we need to fulfill, and that is what everybody else, every country in the world does that. Even in the forum, we had dialogue partners coming to pledge support to the Pacific. That doesn't mean that they have resolved all their problems in their own countries. So likewise, Papua New Guinea has to step up and do what it has to do to have its place in the international community.
Independence celebrations, you're preparing celebrations in New Zealand. Tell me about the significance of this year.
The birth of the country is very important to Papua New Guinea, and Papua New Guineans celebrate the independence. 16th of September is our Independence Day. We got independence in 16th September 1975, and so on the 16th of September this year we will be 49 years of independence. So Papua New Guineans will be celebrating in red and yellow colors all throughout Papua New Guinea. It's a great day, you know. It's a moment when you want to know Papua New Guinea culture. It is better to be in Papua New Guinea because everybody is celebrating that day.
Bougainville is this week getting a new bank geared at providing services for women and mothers. Mama Bank was founded by women in PNG to ensure they could save money for school fees, for rainy days, and not lose it to husbands or partners. The Mama Bank, as it's called, has been in operation on the Papua New Guinea mainland for some years, and National MP for North Bougainville, Francesca Semoso, says there is a real need for the tailored service in her region. She told Don Wiseman how women are often denied access to banking.
The Mama Bank is actually a bank for the women. It's a bank for mothers. It's a bank that has actually done a bit of study and knows the challenges of women and the challenges of actually standing in a long queue in banks in Papua New Guinea, including Bougainville. So we decided that we would actually like to bring this bank into Bougainville for the women, which they can do their savings, do their loans, and a bank that can actually walk up to where the women are sitting on the roadside markets and doing their marketing. So it's a kind of bank that looks at how can women save, how can women find money while they're breastfeeding their kids, while they're sitting on the roadside doing just about everything they do, apart from sitting at the markets, selling their vegetables. At the same time, they're weaving their baskets. At the same time, they're looking after the kids that surround the mothers while they're marketing.
Banks, of course, need infrastructure, don't they? Who's behind the Mama Bank?
The Mama Bank is owned by Papua New Guinea.
Is it underwritten by the PNG government?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's one of those banks. For example, you've got the My Bank, you've got the Bougainville Savings and Loans here. Currently in Buka, we've got the BSP, the Bank of South Pacific that is here. So we've got, for example, in Bougainville, we've got the My Bank, we've got the Bougainville Savings and Loans, and then we will launch here on the 17th of October. So a little bank that was established by the women of Papua New Guinea, looking at how best women can save for their school fees, for the rainy days.
So will it have physical buildings in Bougainville?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, currently at the moment, they'll be renting from a building here in Buka Town. And then eventually, if they want to establish, then they will establish, build in terms of building. But for the time being, when they're established in Buka, they'll be renting from certain properties here.
All right, look, we've heard because of the soaring price of cocoa that there's a lot of money in circulation in Bougainville these last few months. Would you imagine some of this finding its way into the Mama Bank?
Oh, definitely, definitely. We've got women that are actually into cocoa as well. The women in Bougainville, and for me, women in North Bougainville, that are sitting at the markets every day. We're hosting a Bougainvillea flower show this week. I was sitting at the market yesterday, chatting to the women, and they said, well, how is it going? And they said, well, it's only the first day, and we know that people will be buying. And the most important thing is it's not about buying, Dawn. It's about also establishing in the minds of the people that there are other ways to make money, just not a cash crop like coconut and copra. But, not everybody can have a plantation. Not everybody is into cocoa. So we need to find what women are interested in. Apart from cocoa that the women are into, you would know that the bag of cocoa would have been going for $1,000 plus, and it puts a big smile on people's faces here in Bougainville. It's just a blessing that the price of cocoa has gone up. Planting of cocoa trees, Dawn, is what people are actually doing now. Women and youth are going into planting of cocoa as well, apart from all other cash crops like for vanilla, also for cocoa, for copra, and other things like that. But For the women to actually have a bank, there you go. It's like, if the husbands don't have accounts and they think that Mama Bank is the way to go, then the husbands will be like saying, okay, Mama, don't put our money in your bank, the Mama Bank. So again, having a look at the products that they've got, they know the challenges that women face when they go to sell their cow at the market, their bananas, their vegetables. So they've studied that and they say, well, the women actually do the hard work of things, going to the market, sitting there for 6 or 7 hours. They come back home and the husband say, can I have this and that for six-pack, for my smokes, for my whatever they want to do. And at the end of the day, it's a women that lose out. They sit at the market the whole day. Sometimes the vegetables are not bought, but, we carry on the next day to say, well, this one's was for yesterday. That didn't look really fresh. I need to get something else, in the garden and go back again. But the most important thing is we've got a bank that knows the challenges of the women. You can afford to have a mother standing on a long line for 3 hours with a child in her hand, with a child on a sling on her back. So it's a bank that will come to our market.
And then everything's handled on the spot, digitally?
Yeah, on the spot, Dawn, on the spot, digitally, yes, on the spot. So they'll be funding up at the markets, and saying, who wants to do a deposit today? And they take with them an iPad and your signature. Their signature is the thumb. The signature, if mothers are sitting at the market and they decide to open an account with Mama Bank, they don't need to sign. Like, we get a bit shy. Oh, I can write my name. Oh, signature, I'm not comfortable with things like that. And that's what has held women back.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.